Hey guys, Ghost here for our inaugural Tactical Tuesday live stream and chat. I'm very pleased to have and fortunate to have Cleburne County Sheriff Chris Brown as our inaugural guest. So welcome, Chris. Anybody here? My name is Trey Miller, obviously Sheriff Brown. Tactical Tuesdays can be presented by a good friend of mine who does custom loading, Kyle Osborne at Code 1 Ammo. So thanks, Kyle, for everything you do for me personally, but for sponsoring Tactical Tuesday. So what we're going to do, guys, is we're going to talk all things guns, safety, concealed carry. We've got a kind of an idea of what we want to do with Sheriff Brown, but here's the thing, guys. When you guys get online, the live chat is available, so go ahead and click the live chat. Also, click the subscribe button down there for me. If you like what we're doing here, hit the like button. But click the live chat button, and when you get online, guys, go ahead and send us, hey, what's up? This is Cliff, or this is John, or this is Tracy. We'll say hey to you. If you have any questions, send us a chat. We'll answer your questions right here live. So what we're going to do right now is get started and let Sheriff Brown talk about himself a little bit, about his basically a year on duty as sheriff, or a little over half a year, but welcome, Sheriff Brown. I'm really glad to have you out here.
Well, I appreciate the opportunity to be here. You know, it's always good for us to get to sit down and really talk to our community and just be available to the community for different things. You know, it's I think a lot of times seems like we sit up in an ivory tower, not even necessarily an ivory tower, but
it's a tower,
just a tower where we're isolated from everybody, and we want to make sure people know, hey, we're here, we're available, we're part of the community, and we're happy to do our part.
Absolutely. Well, I know that in the last year, there's been things going on in Dallas and all over the country, Charlotte, with what people would call mixed emotions between the community and law enforcement. And that necessarily doesn't come back to Cleburne County. A lot of times I think that our police department, our sheriff's department, and the state troopers in the area do a phenomenal job, especially on holiday weekends. You know, as a community, I want to say personally, I think you're doing a heck of a job. So thank you for what you're doing. And the county, I think, is appreciative of everything that you're doing. But I saw a post on your sheriff's Facebook page. It was talking about statistics. Mm-hmm. And it was talking about no arrests, no citations, and no traffic outside Dam Site Marina and all that. The logistics, I'm imagining, was pretty impressive to see that happen. But that's got to be something you're proud about, of making sure that it is a resort community and it's a vacation community. And we don't necessarily have the impression of our cops are terrible and we hate the public coming in. So it was nice to see that happen. So talk a little bit about 4th of July weekend and how that went for you guys.
So, you know, really our goal as law enforcement should be to generate voluntary compliance. Just means that our goal every day when we come to work should be to, or the want should be to get people to voluntarily obey the law. And so anytime that we can do that without having to interact or intervene in a situation is really, really beneficial.
Absolutely.
So for 4th of July weekend, it got moved to Dam Site this year. And that, I mean, it's a big logistical undertaking.
It's different.
It is. It's
Absolutely.
Very different. So we put 14 uniforms in the park. Probably 10 marked cars in the park to go along with it, and you couldn't walk for more than 5 minutes without bumping into a deputy.
That's a good thing.
It is. It really is. You know,
guys, I'm going to take a drink, so don't.
It gave us the opportunity to interact with a lot of people and just be available for everybody. And you know, it was really impressive because we had the Corps estimated we had between 1,500 and 1,800 cars parked on the day use side only of Dam Site.
Oh, wow.
And if you're not familiar with Dam Site, that's a lot of cars to be parked in Dam Site.
That is a lot of cars.
You know, I kind of
they're not technically usually there at all.
Right.
That many at least.
Right. I stayed up at the park entrance for a lot of that. And, you know, every car that I watched go by had 3 people in it at least.
Oh, yeah.
And so, you know, we're talking probably, and I put on the Facebook page that we estimated maybe 5,000 people, but I think probably 10 or 15 is probably a more realistic number.
I would say that would probably, when you're talking about people that are camping out as well and just the additional side of it, but that's a lot of people.
Right. And so to say, you know, when we got to the end of the night, we've been in the park I've been in the park from noon until about 1 o'clock in the morning. And during that time frame, we didn't tell our folks to turn a blind eye to anything. We told them to take appropriate action where appropriate action was needed, or if it was needed. But during that 13-hour stretch, we wrote 0 tickets. We made 0 arrests. We had 0 traffic accidents. We had 0 alcohol-related incidents. We had 0 calls for service. We'd actually checked out a state dedicated radio channel so that we could run our dispatch and everything right there in the park and not not have to burden our Heber dispatch with that. And the only radio traffic that we had at all on that was people getting on the radio and going, "Hey, radio check, my radio working right?"
Because nobody was saying anything.
Nobody needed it.
That's a good thing.
We at the end of the night, we shut down traffic coming in toward the park from both directions, so we could just get everybody out as fast as we could. And we had during that period, we had a steady flow of outbound traffic for 2 hours.
Oh wow! After the fireworks were over.
After the fireworks were over, and during that 2 hours, not a single traffic accident, not even a single traffic hiccup. I mean, it was just absolutely fantastic. And so
that doesn't happen very often around here, especially.
Right, and so we were so grateful to the community, to the citizens, to the people who came up here to watch the fireworks. It was just a phenomenal turnout, and it turned out to just be a phenomenal afternoon for us and for them.
Well, it kept everybody safe. Like you said, it was kind of an uptaking because you move from the little dike where always the fireworks is, so it's more boats than cars.
Right.
Then you go to dam site to where it's probably equal amount of boats and equal amount of cars because they're not all going to be around that cove. So yeah, I was really amazed when I saw that post by. I was like, wow. And there's not a whole lot of fireworks / resort / vacation communities that have that size of a firework display that can boast. Nothing really happened, so it kept safe. So,
and we had issues outside the park. I mean, we have issues every day outside the park, and that didn't change. But the amount of people concentrated in the park is really what was impressive with.
Yeah, because that's a recipe for disaster. When you get that many people in a small and those roads. If you've never been to dam site marina or a dam site area, the roads wind and they're very narrow, and the chances of getting into a car accident on a normal day are pretty high, much less when you've got 5,000 cars there. So that's great. Well, guys, like I said, when you guys get online, we want to welcome you to Tactical Tuesday. I got Sheriff Chris Brown from Cleburne County Sheriff's Department here. Guys, we're really glad to do this. We're going to take a different approach to the live streaming and live chat when it talks to guns. We're going to do, in my eyes, what's more practical for the community, for newer people that aren't familiar with guns or, and all that. So go ahead and hit the subscribe button. Thanks again to Kyle Osborne at Code 1 Ammo. Guys, when you get into the chat, go ahead and send us a chat. Say who you are, where you're from. Ask any questions you have to us. We'll answer any questions. But until then, we're going to keep going on our script. Chris, my first thing that I am a permit carrying CCL. I carry daily, concealed carry. If people don't know, it's concealed carry license. I carry every day, and there are obviously times and places that I can't, but if I have the availability, I carry every day just because, I want to make sure that nothing's really going to happen a whole lot around here, but it's just something that if I want to have a firearm, you can't just carry every now and then. In my eyes, if you're going to carry, then carry, because that becomes more comfortable, more proficient with that weapon. Guys, I'm going to go ahead and show you that it is unlocked. This is my daily carry. It's an M&P Shield by Smith & Wesson. It's a great gun. A lot of people carry 380s, especially women might throw them in the purse. I carry this. It's a right size. It's still a 9mm round, which I love 9mm rounds, but it's still small enough that I can conceal it inside the waistband and all that. But when it comes to concealment, find a gun that all people. My favorite gun in the world is a Glock 19. That's just my personal preference. You guys, can have whatever you want. We do have a viewer that's popping in. Go ahead and hit the chat button for me and say hey and tell me who you are and where you're from. We'd love to welcome you guys. But going back to the gun, when it comes down to concealed carry, Sheriff Brown, is one, what is the process for people that have never done this to figure out how to become a concealed carry permit? It's going to be a multi-question thing. That one, too, in general, not you necessarily, but in general, is law enforcement, and it might be different in different counties and different states, but do law enforcement officers
like or dislike the fact that people have the ability to carry, whether they're out in public concealed, in their cars. And then thirdly, on a concealed carry, if you're in your car and you do have a legal permit, you do own your gun legally, and you are concealing your gun, whether it's under the dash or on your hip or wherever it is in the car, and you get pulled over, what are the steps that that person needs to do to make sure that they and the officer feel comfortable and safe with knowing that there is probably a loaded weapon in concealment legally, by the way, but what should you do in that? So let's start with the concealment process and how becoming a concealment permit carrier.
Okay. So the first thing you need to be is an Arkansas resident, and of course there are some exceptions for that if you're in the military or you're a spouse of somebody who's in the military. There's some exceptions there, but you need to be an Arkansas resident for at least 90 continuous days before you can take the class. So you need to find an instructor and take a class. It's typically an 8-hour class, or at least that's what it's slotted for.
It was when I took it.
And it really should be. I mean, there's 8 hours worth of material between the classroom stuff and the range stuff. There's 8 hours worth of stuff
Absolutely.
there. The instructors are available on State Police's website. I always have a terrible time going to the State Police website and then looking for it.
Right.
So I Google AR.
It's true. I've done it.
Yeah.
Luckily, I know the guy locally who does the concealed carry license. That's Harold Williams. He does a good job. But if you're not in Heber Springs or Cleburne County, you're looking for someone, have fun.
Yeah. So typically what I do is I Google AR concealed carry, and the very first link on the very top of Google is the State Police concealed carry website.
Perfect.
You click right on that, and there's a big blue button right at the top of the page that says locate an instructor or locate instructors in my area. And you can go right in there and select by county, and it gives you a big list. So you'll find a class, you'll talk to the instructor and find a class, and you'll pay whatever the instructor charges for the class, $50 to $100 per person.
Yeah.
I think Harold charges 50 or 60.
I think it was 50, yeah. That was a couple years ago, but it was 50 back then.
I know my classes, I've been an instructor since 2014.
So you're giving them too? Fantastic.
We did, and in fact, we did through the sheriff's wives. We've kind of started a group at the sheriff's office with the sheriff's wives and the ladies at the sheriff's office. We offered a free concealed carry class in honor of Mother's Day this year, and we did that. We opened it up to mothers of Cleburne County.
Oh, good.
Did you
have a good turnout?
I think we had 20. It was either 23 or 28 in the class, which was an enormous class. And it was absolutely phenomenal. It was really good. I think we posted a picture of the ladies, me with the ladies during the classroom stuff.
I'm going to send a chat out here.
We posted a picture of the ladies with me during the class. That's on the sheriff's office page. But so you'll find a class that's like I said, a lot of instructors charge $50 to $100. I always charged $50, and then like $80 for couples. Give them a discount if they come together, husband and wife, boyfriend, girlfriend.
Absolutely.
Something like that. And then so after you sit in on the class, there's going to be a packet of stuff that you'll have to send to the state. That's going to include an application for them. It's going to include 1 or 2 fingerprint cards, depending on which instructor you get. Some of them give you 1, some of them give you 2. And it's going to also include a check.
Yes.
For the state.
You got to pay for it.
Yep. You pay for everything, unfortunately. Like I said, I've done some free classes before, but more often than not, even if I do a free class, you're still going to pay the state money, and that goes toward background checks. It goes toward state and federal stuff. It goes toward fees and licensing and all different kinds of stuff.
And that's the great thing about not anyone can just apply and say, oh yeah, I want to carry a gun concealed everywhere I go. They're going to do a background check, and they're going to do certain things to make sure that the right people are the right people are able to carry the guns, but 2, they want to make sure that you're carrying for the right reason. We don't want the wild west, and it does take a month or 2 after you do the class and all that. But eventually, when you get approved, hopefully, that's what your ID will look like, and you carry that with you. I would imagine that if you ever get caught without that, they could probably look it up, but it's probably going to not go as smoothly for you as it could.
So they've been trying and they've been talking about, with car insurance here, you can now have a digital form of that instead of actually having an insurance card in your car. And they've been trying to go for that. And I think there's still some really mixed feelings on carrying a digital form of your concealed carry, your permit. So it's always better to have the hard copy. But I think in a pinch, if you had a picture of it on your phone or something like that, an officer would probably accept that. Let's see. Remind me again, what was the second question?
Okay, my second question is what I really like to know is if you're in a vehicle and you've got either concealed on the hip or underneath the dash. I've got a little mount that I can kind of underneath the dash when I'm in my car and all that. And you get pulled over for whatever reason, tail light, speeding, whatever you get pulled over for. The law enforcement agent comes up. I've never been pulled over while carrying. Luckily, I haven't done anything wrong. But my understanding is you present your license and your concealed carry permit. Say I am a permit carrying and I am carrying at the time. Keep your hands and all that. But I want to know, what are you exactly supposed to do to make the whole engagement between you and the law enforcement agent go better? And as a sheriff and your guys, what do you want to see people, how do you want to see them handle to where everyone's comfortable, everyone's safe, and that traffic stop goes as smoothly as possible?
So any time that you are contacted by law enforcement and you're a permit holder, if you are carrying and you're a permit holder, you are required, it's under the administrative rules, you're required to notify the officer that you're a permit holder and that you are carrying with you. Of course, from that point, he's going to ask, if you don't already have your permit out, he's going to ask where your permit is.
Yep.
He's going to ask where the gun is. He's going to ask maybe a couple other questions, maybe not. Biggest thing, especially on a traffic stop like that, if you get pulled over, you know, a lot of people's really good intentions are dig for your license, dig for your insurance, and that's fine. But if you look from the officer's point of view at the back of the car, they can see from here up, all they see is head bobbing back and forth and you digging around for something. So best thing in the world you can do, you get stopped in a car, put your hands up on the dashboard, roll the window down. If it's at night, turn your dome light on, roll all the windows down.
Turn your headlights off, or
I don't think headlights. I don't think headlights matter, but turn the interior lights on, roll the windows down. If it's cold, turn the heater up, I guess, you know, before you roll the windows down. But
there you go.
Put your hands up where they can be seen real well. And when the officer gets up there, he's going to go through a spiel. It's probably going to sound something like, I'm Sheriff Chris Brown with the Cleburne County Sheriff's Office. The reason I stopped you is for traveling 68 miles an hour in 55 mile an hour zone. Do you have a legal justification for driving that fast? And your first response needs to be, right, yeah. Your first response needs to be, you know, I'm sorry, or whatever pleasantry you want to insert there.
Right.
But it needs to be, you know, before we go any further, I do want to let you know I'm a permit holder and I am carrying. And chances are, if you come up to if one of us comes up to the window and we see your hands on the dash or on the steering wheel, we're probably going to assume that anyway.
Right.
You know, most folks that do that are very conscious or very aware of what we're looking for in a safety issue. Speaking from my personal experience is if we know it's in the car and you've informed us about it and you've taken every step that you can take to make sure that we know where it is and that it's there and that you want us to feel safe from outside the car, chances are we're going to leave you in the car and just tell you, stay in the car, leave your door shut. You know, if we ask where the driver's license is, you know, well, my gun's on my right hip and my driver's license is in my back right pocket. They ask you just to reach for it really slowly, or something like that. Best advice in the world during any of that is whatever the officer asks, just do it. Even if he's wrong, you know, that is something that can always be settled.
Keep him mentally safe and all that.
You know, that's what our courts are for. I mean, officers make mistakes. I mean, it happens, and we'd all be very naive to say that it doesn't ever happen. But the worst thing you can do right there on the side of the road is fight it or argue or anything like that, because law enforcement training says we win every time.
Absolutely.
You know? And it has to be like that to keep us safe. So comply, move very slowly. If you intend to move for something, let the officer know ahead of time that you're going to move for it. Let them know and ask if it's okay. Just follow the commands or follow the orders, and that will make the traffic stop go very, very smoothly. You know, at the end of the day, the officer standing there, he just wants to go home too.
He's got a family to go home to.
In general, I would say majority of places you go, law enforcement is very pro citizens carrying guns. And
that was kind of the question. The next question I want to transition is, I know that a lot of people do talk about in the law enforcement that they are very pro. It helps ensure safety in other areas to where your guys end, it kind of extends the coverage of being safe. But I also know that it does present issues at times, knowing that there are a lot of people out there that are carrying guns. Yes, they're legally permitted to do so, but you never know, if you're having a bad day or whatever, that might present issues that, might not be as fun for the law enforcement with guys that are carrying, even though they are legally carried. But I didn't know how you guys normally felt about that.
And I would say, like you were saying earlier, it varies from city to city, county to county, state to state.
Right.
And bigger cities, probably that's not going to be as smiled upon as in smaller places or more rural places. But how does the saying go? When seconds count, police are only minutes away.
That's right.
So
you said that, not me.
You yourself, you really are the first line of defense.
Right.
I mean, the police are really good after the fact at investigating, coming and picking up bodies or picking up the mess. And but if you need help right then, unless one of us is standing right there, it's hard. On average, there are. I was reading the statistic yesterday or the day before. There are 2.5 police officers, average across the country. There are 2.5 police officers per every 1,000 citizens.
Really?
Which means
that's a lot of place to cover.
That's a lot of place to cover. It's a lot of people to account for, and it means that we cannot be everywhere all at once. And so, first line of defense is you yourself. I mean, it has to be that way.
Yeah.
Sometimes we get lucky and we're right there when it happens, but a lot of times we're not.
Yeah, and I know that being a concealed carry permit holder, and like I said, I carry on a daily basis just because, not because I feel like I need to in Heber Springs or Cleburne County, but like I said, I carry every day, if I can, because the more you have that gun on your possession, the more comfortable you become with it. And if you ever do have to use it, and you only carry once a month, you're probably not going to be very proficient in drawing and all that. It is what it is. But concealed carry for me is very important, especially in areas that higher crime and all that. And like I said, Heber Springs, we're very, very lucky not to have a large amount of crime, aggravated crime with weapons and all that. But you never know. You get some crazies coming in on weekends, and you never know what kind of position you're going to be put in. The last question that I wanted to call about concealed carry, and I didn't mention this before because I just thought about this. But guys, we do have some viewers out here. I want to say hi. My name is Trey Miller. We're here with Cleburne County Sheriff Chris Brown. Guys, if you're watching, we welcome you guys to Tactical Tuesday. Go ahead, and if you're getting a live chat going on, go ahead and say hello to us, tell you who you are, where you're from. If you have any questions for myself or Sheriff Brown, go ahead and send them, and we'll be happy to answer them. If not, enjoy what we're talking about. But the last question on concealed carry is if you're in a public place, let's say you're at Walmart and you're with your family, and there is someone comes in to have an armed robbery. You and your family are not necessarily around that armed robbery, but he's got 17 different people between cashiers and other customers that are in danger, and he is waving a pistol around. As a concealed carry permit holder, what legalities and what am I able to do, if anything, in that situation, if they're not necessarily directed the gun towards me or my family? Can we do anything to help that situation, to help other people in that store? And the answer is I don't really know. And I thought that I did, but I've heard a couple of different things. So I want to clear this up also.
So we a long time ago, Arkansas used to be a duty to retreat state. At least that's what I understand. I think that was before I ever lived here.
Right.
We are not now We are not a duty to retreat state. So what that means is that, there are a lot of states that are duty to retreat states, and that means that if you have a way to escape when you're confronted with a situation like that, by law you are required to flee instead of fight. Well, we are not like that anymore, and so you'd have to answer a lot of questions afterward, but you do have the ability to intervene on somebody else's behalf. Now, of course, our recommendation is going to 9 times out of 10 is going to be a better witness. Be a better witness than maybe somebody who intervenes, because it always certainly puts you at risk. If you're with your family, it puts your family at risk too. But in a situation where that's the only option you've got, like I said, you don't have to retreat, but it may be, we talk about a lot of times moving away or moving to cover, especially when we talk about shooting. Well, sometimes backwards or to the side is not always the best approach. Sometimes taking the fight to somebody is the better approach because it's not expected.
That's right.
And so, it's hard to say in every instance do this, but certainly you absolutely do have the right to do
and it might be different for different mentality. My Marine Corps training and tactical training that I've had, I would not necessarily be as scared of bringing a fight to them than maybe someone who's not as comfortable with a gun, even though they're carrying. It's nice to know that if possibly I can secure my family in a safe place behind some shelves at Walmart or whatever, and if I can sneak around and kind of flank the individual, shoot him in the leg or something to get him down to where, me personally, I'm not trying to kill anybody. I want that guy to suffer a little bit, and I want him to pay for the crime. So I'm probably going to shoot him in the knee or something to where he's not going to die, but he can go spend some time in jail. But it's, there are people that would not be afraid to sit there and say there are 11 mothers and children in that line, and he's waving a gun at them, and I'm the only person that might be able to help until the police arrive. It's nice to know that possibly in that crazy type of situation, that it's something, like you said, there's going to be some questions that are going to be asked later on in the court of law probably and by the cops, but there's something that could be done to maybe help defend people that don't have the ability to defend them. So, I didn't know how that really was. The letter of the law is, people don't really know sometimes.
And and what we teach, and it's something that we teach in my classes, and I know a lot of other instructors teach it too, and it's pretty standard across law enforcement, is we shoot to stop a threat. We don't shoot to kill. We don't shoot to injure. We don't specify like that. We shoot to stop a threat. If it takes 1 round, it takes 1 round. If it takes 3 magazines, it takes 3 magazines. But the goal is you shoot or take whatever action you do until the threat stops. And as soon as the threat's over, a single round after that is excessive.
That's right. And
so that's what we're looking for there. We're looking for compliance on their part. And if they wind up dying because of that, sometimes that's an unfortunate side effect of being shot. Right. But
now, guys, I'm going to say this. I don't want, even though that you're legally permitted to carry, I'm sure Sheriff Brown does not want some mass marauders, Batmen out there trying to take the law into their own hands and looking for a gunfight in Cleburne County or anywhere else. Obviously, we're not saying that at all, but what we are saying is if you are presented in a situation that is scary and there are other people, including yourself, your family, but there are people involved that are in a situation where they could be harmed by an individual with a gun. Now, obviously, if he's got a knife or something else, excessive force tells me you probably might not want to use a gun if the guy's sitting there with, you don't really know what he's in. I would say he has to present a weapon of some sort before you can really go into that. But, don't go out there and try to be a Batman or Spider-Man out there trying to solve the crimes of Cleburne County on your own, because that's not what we're saying. We're saying that if you're put in a situation, you do have the legal right to defend you, your family, and the public around you that are in a true death threat, deadly force threat.
So the key wordage that we use there, I mean, it's going to be a self-defense thing, but the key wordage that we use is if you or somebody else is in imminent danger of death or serious bodily injury.
Okay, there you go.
And so that's kind of the guideline. We absolutely don't want Wild West. We're not looking for that. But what we're talking about are scenarios where this is a last resort. You're forced into taking some kind of an action, and in that you have the right to defend yourself, and that's what we're going for.
All right, guys. Once again, welcome to Tactical Tuesday.
We want to say hi to everybody out there. This has got Sheriff Chris Brown. This is our inaugural episode of Tactical Tuesday, and there are a lot of YouTube streams and chats out there that will talk about, hey, my favorite gun is, a Colt 1911 or AR-15 and all that. We're not here to talk about that. We're here to try to talk about practical things that have to do with guns in the real world. We spent the last 10 minutes or so. Man, it's already been half an hour. I'm sorry.
That's all right. Hey, we're great.
All right.
No
all right. Well, you let me know when we got to go. We got a couple more things I'd like to. We can cut this off whenever. We can always have you back at another time. But we talked about concealed carry. So if you're here, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. If you're there, hit the live chat button. Send us a chat. We are live chatting. We can see it coming up. Tell us who you are, where you're from. We'll send a shout out to you. More importantly, if you have a question for myself or Sheriff Brown, go ahead and ask that, and we'll be happy to answer it. We spent a while talking about concealed carry because I think that's probably going to be the longest one because there are so many questions that people don't really know. Because I remember a couple years ago, there was something that the state house passed that some people interpreted that we're an open carry, and then it got reversed to where we're not necessarily open carry, but there's some gray area. So here's the thing, whether we're open carry or not, what I would say is if you're interested in carrying legally, go get your concealed carry permit, and there are no questions at all about that after all. Once you get your concealed carry, whether it's open or concealed and all that, you'll know and do the right thing. So we talk about concealed carry. The second thing that I want to talk about is a lot of people, there's a lot of single parents, especially single moms in Cleburne County, in the state, and all over the country. But what I want to talk about is some home and self-defense stuff that you probably go over, classes that you guys have. We'll tie in home and self-defense, and then also we can talk about later on about what you can actually do legally and what you should do if you have an intruder in your home. So, go ahead, and I know you got some stuff that you want to talk about, so fire away.
All right. So there are a lot of aspects and a lot of different things that you could really cover when you talk about home invasions or burglars in the middle of the night or something like that. We're still looking at the same criteria that we were just talking about a minute ago. Okay. You'd be in fear for your life, which is in fear for you or somebody else, in imminent danger of death or serious bodily injury. But you absolutely have the right to defend yourself. You've got the right to defend your home. We don't have castle doctrine here in this state,
right?
But I mean, the idea is kind of similar. I'm going to talk about something for just a second that may or may not be a whole lot talked about outside of law enforcement or military circles at all, and that is in raids, and we saw it a lot. Specifically with the Marine Corps back in about 2003. That was the big push into Fallujah, I think. Yes, right, it was in 2003. And we had a lot of Marines that were killed doing building raids or house raids. And what they found were their tactics weren't the greatest. And so we wound up changing some tactics a little bit.
I can vouch for that.
Yeah. So we wound up changing some tactics a little bit, and and that shuffles you. The military is like the big brother for law enforcement. We get a lot of our tactics and a lot of ideas and everything from there. But what we discovered was that where we were getting a lot of people killed in military and law enforcement too was at breach points, so doorways, and from deep angles within a structure. Okay. So a lot of times, somebody could post, if you had a long hallway, they could post in a bedroom where they could see, a sliver of the front door or coming down the hallway. And it'd be very difficult to engage somebody from the other end of that.
Especially if they're camping out waiting for that one opportunity.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And so, the idea there is nobody knows your house better than you. And so when it comes to defending your house, you need to be able to identify where are those spots where I have the best tactical advantage inside the house. And I say we don't talk about this a lot because we don't want people to necessarily use this against us.
Right.
But it's good information for you to know as a homeowner.
Absolutely.
If you get into something, where's the best place for me to run to? Where's a good place to make my hidey hole or my safe room? And those are some things to take into consideration. Where's a place for you to have the best tactical advantage? Yes. And it's certainly not in a bedroom or a bathroom that's got 4 doors into it that you can't watch all at the same time.
One way in and one way out.
Maybe some helpful tips. on securing your house to prevent some of the
Absolutely.
stuff like that. Leaving exterior lights on, having all four sides of a house lit is a fantastic deterrent.
And guys, having your house lit up at 3 o'clock in the morning is not going to change your electric bill a dramatic amount. It's only going to make you that $2 extra a month is well worth the safety of you and your family.
Absolutely.
I have a safety light that's the electric company has right outside in front of my house. It's a street light that comes on, and I have it on. It costs like $6 a year, but I mean, it's one of those things where for me, especially if I'm gone, at least there's light out there to where my wife can see if there's shadows lurking or whatever.
Recommend locking the house, all the doors when you leave.
A lot of people in Cleburne County don't do that.
Right, we don't do that. Lock your car doors, lock your house doors, leave your garage door closed. I know we had a big rash of break-ins here recently where one of the cars that was broken into was unlocked, but it was in the garage, which would be okay if they hadn't left the garage door open, a foot and a half where somebody could crawl under. Well, these are things, we've never had to do this in Cleburne County before, and so there are things that we just don't think about all the time, but there's certainly things we need to think about now.
Yes, the world is changing.
Yep, we recommend having at least 2 flashlights immediately available, or wherever you know where they are. The mantra in law enforcement, I'm sure it's the same in the military, is when it comes to flashlights or guns, 2 is 1 and 1 is none.
That's right.
And Murphy, I promise will strike. If you need a flashlight and you only have 1 flashlight, when you go to use it, it will die.
That's right.
I've been in the middle of clearing basements and stuff in the middle of the daytime and thought, well, I don't need 2 flashlights because it's, 2 o'clock in the afternoon and I get into a basement, the flashlight dies, and I have no more light.
That's right.
And I'll tell you, that's a scary feeling to be in the dark with no light.
I guarantee it. Absolutely.
So two flashlights, good flashlights. Spend some money on a flashlight.
LED probably gets the brightest light.
Yep, LED. Pay attention to your lumens. Something for home defense. You want to be well over 100 lumens. Okay. If you can get over 200 or 300 lumens, that's even better. I've got 2 flashlights that I keep on my nightstand. One is 600 lumens, and the other is 1100 lumens.
Oh wow!
They are daytime, is what they are. They are very, very bright.
That'll get it done.
And the big advantage to those is, on top of illuminating everything around, they disorient a person when you shine a light in their face. So they're a weapon all by themselves, which is great.
It's almost a flashbang.
It really is.
that big one is pretty powerful.
Some other things that you can do: keep your blinds closed during the daytime. Don't advertise what you have to steal. If you buy a new TV or something like that, don't take the box and set it out on the curb where everybody can window shop from the street. And the Facebook.
63-inch TV, just brand new. Well, you're just begging someone to come in and take that 63-inch TV.
Exactly. Let's see. There are a lot of people. We're talking specifically about gun people. Gun safes are a good thing, but if you keep a gun safe in a downstairs bedroom and you sleep upstairs, if somebody breaks into the house, that gun's not going to be accessible. Not necessarily advocating one way or the other, keeping a gun underneath your pillow or something like that, but the gun needs to be easily accessible, while at the same time being safe. If you've got kids in the house or something like that, there are companies out there that make rapid safes or rapidly accessible safes where you can push on it and it reads fingerprints or code or
a 4-digit code will unlock it very quickly. At my house, we've got several guns spread out throughout the house. We try to keep one in each kind of zone of the house, to where my daughter's 20 and she is actually very proficient with a gun. But even when she was younger, we had one in her region. It was way to where she couldn't get to it. But I try to keep a gun in each region, no matter where we are. We have access to one, and it's not on plain sight. Obviously, we have there's different ways to conceal and to make those safe. But if you have multiple guns, having a gun plan is just as important sometimes as having a fire plan of getting out of the house. Is everyone knows where they are. Obviously, you want to make sure that lines of fire aren't crossing into your parents' bedroom or your kid's bedroom. But having that, like you said, having them around, everyone in my household knows where the different zones are and where the accessible guns are, just in case they have to get somewhere. And not saying to go out there and buy more guns just to do that, but if you have the availability, like you said, sometimes it's having them in the safe doesn't do you a whole lot of good.
We talk a lot, or at least a lot of people do. They say, well, having guns like that's paranoia. You're paranoid. And it could be, but if you go to any business in just about any state, you go to any church, you go to any hospital, you go to anything like that, and if you look on the walls, what do you see? Fire alarms, fire sprinklers, lights. but that's not paranoia.
Yeah.
Okay?
It happens.
I mean,
the
it happens.
one time that it happens,
Right.
you got to be prepared for
Right, and this is really no different. We're not saying be paranoid about it. There's a difference in being paranoid and being prepared. You know, can you take this to the extreme? Can you take this over the top? Yes, absolutely you can. That's certainly not what we're advocating. We're just advocating being prepared.
That's right.
and just
protecting your family and the people inside your house.
exactly.
The next thing I know you had talked about is if there is an intruder, you know, you talked about you do have the right to protect and all that. My family, we have safe words. And like I said, I know that, like you said, this very well could sound very paranoid. But in the military, when you're on a night hump and you're doing night navigation, you're out on patrol and you hear footsteps, you have safe words. You have, you know, words that you'll say and they have to reply a certain way. Well, we're getting ready to light you up. In my household, we stay up till midnight or 1 o'clock and really don't go out a whole lot. But if I was to come home late after going being at friends, or my daughter was going to come home after being with her friends, and I hear that ding when the front door rings on the alarm system, I'm going to send out my side of the safe word. And if that safe word doesn't come back, you know, I'm probably calling 911 and letting them know I've got an intruder and I have a gun here, but I want to let them know there's an intruder. And now the question is this: if you have an intruder and you have weapons in the house, are you legally obligated to announce to the intruder, I have a gun, I'm not afraid to shoot, please leave? Or can you just go ahead and you see and you shoot? That's a really big gray area, I'm sure, legality wise. But what should we do from a law enforcement side? What should we do? You know, once we've recognized we have weapons in the house, there is a true threat to us at that point, without getting thrown in jail for defending our family, is there a certain protocol that we need to take?
So there's not, you know, even when we have deadly force encounters, the criminal procedure or the law really reads that you have to announce if it's reasonable.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there may not be times where it is reasonable
Right.
to announce, and this is no different. Chances are, if you say, I've got a gun, I'm not afraid to use it, chances are they're going to turn around and go back out the door, which is really what you want.
Absolutely.
And so may that deter, you know, any further action? Yeah, absolutely it may. Are you absolutely right? Are you absolutely obligated to? No.
Okay.
You know what we would recommend, a situation like that, especially if you're still awake, if you hear somebody breaking in, hunker down right there, or try to get to that hidey hole that we were talking about, that safe place. Bunker down right there, call 911 and let them know what's going on. Let them know, especially if you're carrying a gun, let them know what you're wearing,
Right.
that you're the homeowner.
Absolutely.
And then when they get there, if you are still there and still holding the gun when they get there, obviously don't come out waving the gun around. That's a good way to get shot, because all the police see when they show up.
Drop that before you go out and greet the police.
I certainly would. Yeah, I'd certainly recommend just dropping it. If they yell at you, you know, any concealed carry encounter like that where you have to draw a gun or use a gun, 999 times out of 1,000, you're going to get a gun pointed at you by the police when they get there, especially if you're still holding it. You're going to be ordered to the ground, and then you're going to be handcuffed.
Absolutely.
Don't fight with any of that. They'll get it all sorted out, but you know that's
what you got to do. They got to be safe as well before they enter the premises.
Absolutely.
And know that everything else is safe. And they're probably going to ask you who else is in the house. Are there other guns in the house? Right. And you got to tell them, guys, my wife and daughter in the house, and there are 3 more guns outside of a safe that are accessible to them, and let them know so before they walk in, they're not, you know, we got to keep them safe because they're trying to help us out as well. So that's the biggest thing, is that's when I'll make sure that, and if you do have to use what I always call deadly force, I don't know if that's a term that you guys use or not, but if I'm protecting my house and there's an intruder and I have to engage on that intruder, I've already called 911. I've already announced that I have a weapon and will protect my family, and they continue to proceed, I'm probably going to take that shot. Now, I would also imagine that if you have to take that shot, don't run and leave the premises. You've already done the legalities. If you've called 911, you've done everything the right way. But like Sheriff Brown said, when the cops get there, they are probably going to talk to you, handcuff you, question you. Not because they're going to take you to jail necessarily. It's to make sure that the scene is safe before they proceed. So just be aware of that. That don't leave the scene, because at that point it looks really bad. I've seen people on YouTube talking about they left the scene and now they're a criminal for leaving a crime scene.
Right.
That's not a good thing either.
You know, the responding officers, unless they're familiar with the address and know the people that live there, when they show up, they're not going to know who the good guy is, who the homeowner is, who the bad guy is. They're going to show up and see a guy holding a gun or a guy freshly dropped a gun.
Yep.
They're going to see, maybe a body on the floor if that action was taken, or somebody's gone. But they're not going to know who all the players are. And so what they're going to do for their safety is cuff everybody. They're going to sweep the house to make sure that there's nobody hiding or laying in wait inside the house. And then they'll come back.
By that.
Right. And they'll come back and they'll talk to everybody to sort it all out. That's what they're going to do.
Perfect.
And the more cooperation they get up front, the faster it goes, the easier it goes, the smoother it goes, and the quicker it can all get sorted out and put back together. The goal there is not to hem anybody up.
Yeah. Let's just keeping the situation as much under control as it can when there's been deadly force used or a gun drawn, whether you've shot around or not. Once you pull a gun on an individual, it turns into a whole new ball game as far as the legalities of it. You can defend yourself. You can go up there and punch someone in the nose and shoot someone. They're both defending, but they're total complete ends of the spectrum of what the police and the law enforcement agents are going to look at that scenario. So be careful a little bit, but do defend yourself if you have to. Really, the next one I want to talk about, and you might want to talk about something else, but if you don't have anything right offhand, is more talking about gun safety, gun training. I know you said you guys give some class for the females out there, which I think is a huge thing. Like I said, a lot of single moms out there with kids, or just single people without kids that are living by themselves, that might be terrified of guns or never had a gun or been around guns, but feel like they may want to be able to protect themselves. Are there classes through you guys or around the county or in Little Rock area or somewhere that newer shooters that have little to no experience with a gun might be able to go and get? Obviously, we want them to be safe, the proper mechanics, and respect the gun before they start shooting it. But are there classes out there that whether they're female or male, but new shooters might be able to go take so they feel more comfortable around guns?
We always try in my concealed carry classes. I spend a lot of time. I spend extra time going through the basics of shooting. A lot of people that come take our handgun classes or our concealed carry classes have never shot before, and so it's really it's surprising how many we get. Wow. And so we try to take a lot of time to emphasize the fundamentals of shooting. You go to a lot of these big classes and they'll say, okay, we're going to break shooting down into these 9 different things. And if I give you 9 things right now, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
You've never held a gun.
Are you going to be able to remember all 9?
No.
So we try to break it down into really simple. We talk about 3 specific things, and that's grip, stance, and eyes. And that's, if I give you those 3, you can repeat them right now. I mean,
absolutely.
It's not difficult. So we break that down.
I'm a dumb jarhead. So
we spend a lot of time really talking about the very, very basic fundamentals of shooting. And we get everybody up. We clear guns first and make sure there's no ammo, and then we do a lot of dry fire training before we ever send
people bring guns out there to your concealed carry that are loaded. I mean, not knowing that that either they don't know that it's loaded, or they forgot that it's loaded, or they don't know how to unload it. That could be interesting.
We've had a few, and they're always surprised when I come by and physically inspect the gun, visually and physically inspect the gun 2, 3, 4 times when we've never touched ammunition.
Yeah.
And we just explain, look, we've had ADs, we've had people shot. Pretty much every agency I've ever worked for, that has happened somewhere.
Oh yeah.
And it's not funny, it's not a joke. But accidents happen, they happen quickly, and so we want to do whatever we can to help prevent those. And so, but people are surprised when we come by and we check it and they go, well, it's unloaded. I don't care. I'm going to check it anyway. Right. Even if I unload it, I'm going to check it again.
That's right. Absolutely.
And so I kind of I'll give you the four basic gun safety.
All right, here we go.
For every single person. These are the 4.
If you're ever listening to anything he's saying right now and you're new to shooting or new to guns,
this is the time to listen.
These are the 4 basic safety gun safety rules. They're the 4 rules that need to be adhered to the most on any range, anywhere that you hold a gun, anywhere that you see a gun, anybody else that's holding a gun. These 4 things will give you the absolute best chance of not shooting somebody accidentally or shooting yourself accidentally, or just having an accidental discharge in general.
In general.
So we treat every gun as if it's loaded.
Absolutely.
That's a pretty easy one. You know, I mean, my kids 6'5" and 2.5, and the 4-week-old doesn't know it yet, but the other 3 know. They pick up a toy gun, and the first place their finger goes is onto the side of the frame.
Absolutely.
Because we treat every gun as if it's loaded.
Absolutely.
And that's even after we unload it. We still treat it like it's loaded. You keep your finger off the trigger and outside the trigger guard until you're ready to shoot.
And basically, for you guys, with that, if you don't understand what that means, is trigger guard is right here. Okay. So most of the time, I would say that 99% of the time that you're handling a weapon, you're probably going to be in this position right here. Your finger goes in that trigger guard, you better be ready to pull that trigger for some reason. So what he's saying is outside the trigger guard, this is a safe place to hold that gun, to where you have no really way of pulling that trigger at this point right here. Sorry about that.
Roger that, no problem. So we keep finger off the trigger, out of the trigger guard until we're ready to shoot. Those 2 things paired together are a really, really good combination.
They usually handle most of it.
Yes. We always keep the gun pointed in a safe direction. That means if you're out on the range, it means keeping it pointed downrange, down toward the targets, or at a berm. What it does not mean is turn around and wave it around where the cars are, or the people are, or something like that. Always keep it pointed in a safe direction. Yeah. If you're in the house, you're going to clean a gun. A fridge is a safe direction. A fridge will stop around. Floor, a lot of times, will stop around as long as it's not the 2nd or 3rd story of a house, or you have a basement below you. You know, so there's some considerations to take into account. If you don't have any safe place in your house to point a gun like that, a couple of phone books laid on the table, you know, is a good safe place to point a gun. You know, a lot of guns, the Glock specifically, require that you pull the trigger to field strip them.
That's right.
So that you can clean them. And so we always want to point the gun in a safe direction before we do that. Of course, we drop the mag, you know, right side a couple times, do a safety check, make sure it's empty. We lock it back, physically check it, right, and then point it in a safe direction. And then the last of the 4th rule is always know what's in front of and behind your target. Just having some awareness of what you're shooting. You know, I mean, even if you're out on a controlled range where, you know, everybody shoots this direction.
That's right.
You know, you still need to be aware of what's behind that target area. You know, there are range out here on the bypass. They've spent a lot of time here in the last couple of months cleaning out that big ditch behind all the ranges.
And out there at least once or twice a weekend. They've done a great job of that. It wasn't always that way.
Right. You know, and as long as that ditch is back there, it's possible to be on one of the ranges and not know they're down there.
That's very correct.
And so we always have to be absolutely 100% aware of what is beyond the target, what's in between the target, what's above it or below it, depending on, you know, where we're shooting. So those are the 4 rules that can really keep us safe when we talk about that.
Yeah, that right there, guys. For those of you that are new to shooting and all of that, that is as good as it gets for the basics before you even pick up a gun for the first time. If you can remember those 4 things, then chances are your experiences of being a gun owner and handling a weapon are going to put you ahead of the people that don't think about that stuff. Because if you always remember where people are, keep your hand off the trigger, and point in a safe place, a safe direction, chances of there being a catastrophic accident are much more diminished. So, so I know you got some more stuff that you wanted to talk about. So I just wanted to throw that in there. But that's some really good stuff right there.
Well, I know we're kind of running down to our last just few minutes, but I'll put a couple of plugs in for the sheriff's office.
Absolutely.
Real quick. We have one of the things since January that we've been really pushing is community outreach. Just making sure the community is aware of everything that's going on. That we're doing press releases and just making sure that everybody sees exactly what we're doing. Just trying to be really open about everything. So we have got our website's back up and running. It's updated and it works. If you want to follow everything the sheriff's office is doing, you can go to our website. It's CleburneCountySheriff.com, and there's a link at the top that says receive email alerts or notifications, or I can't remember exactly how it's worded, but you can click on that.
And it says notifications.
Notifications.
And you can click on that and say how you want to receive them.
You'll enter your email in, and then you'll get a confirmation email, and you have to click on a link to verify it. And then anytime that we do a press release, it sends you an email with that press release in there. You can follow our Facebook page.
Which I do.
And there's a link from our website to the Facebook page, and all the press releases that we do on the website go onto the Facebook page. Sometimes we have things that we put on Facebook we don't put on the website because they're not things, we've got newspapers and TV stations and radio stations that follow those email alerts, and they don't necessarily, some of the things that we put on Facebook aren't pertinent for them, and so we try not to just overload their inbox.
Stuff that's on pictures of, hey, doing this, that, they don't care about.
Right, yeah, they don't care about that, and so we try not to overload them with emails. So anything that we don't want emailed out like that, we just try to do on Facebook.
So basically, if you get a notification from CleburneCountySheriff.com, whether it's a civilian or the news, chances are if you're getting an email from the website, it's pretty pertinent information that is important. Like I said, that the media is going to see that, so they're going to see that email pop up. So hey, this is going on in Cleburne County. So if you're looking for the happy-go-lucky fun times of the sheriff and all that, check out the Facebook. But if you want the actual real stuff, that the news that he needs you guys to understand, go and get the notifications at the website, because obviously if he puts one out there for the website, it's important we probably need to know about it.
And what the majority of the press releases are things like we'll post job openings, we'll post we post at the beginning of every month, we'll post last month's arrests.
Okay.
And so you can kind of see the breakdown of how many arrests we made, what they were for, things like that. We post. We've had our second one now, deputy of the quarter. We named one of the deputies.
I saw that.
Right.
I saw that.
Who's done a lot of really good work, and it's just our way to recognize them.
She works at the jail, does she not?
Right. So yes, second quarter deputy of the month was our deputy of the quarter was Tracy Hazelwood, and she's one of the corporals at the jail. We had our jail administrator had a medical thing and took a short leave, and she stepped up and took over and ran the jail for I think 3 weeks.
Fantastic, good for her.
She did a great job for us.
That's awesome.
And so that was our.
It's not an easy job by any means.
No, it's very tough. And then the last little plug I'll give there, we started a program in April called Donuts with Deputies. And it's the third Thursday of every month, and it's an opportunity where we go to, and it just be however many deputies want to attend. All 3 months we've had 5 or 6 or more show up, but 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of us will go to a restaurant somewhere in the county, and we'll sit down for breakfast from 7 to 9 in the morning, and it is just open to anybody who wants to come sit with us, who wants to ask questions or bring concerns, or just sit and visit.
Being accessible to everybody. That's
Absolutely.
Awesome. That's
and
great.
So the first month we did it at the sheriff's office, and we provided donuts and coffee. The second month we did it at Jitterbug here in Heber Springs.
You got one coming up next week, I think, don't you?
So yeah, so on the 20th we'll be at Bentley's restaurant up in Greers Ferry.
Absolutely.
So from 7 to 9 in the morning we'll be up at Bentley's eating breakfast.
Remember, guys, he's the Cleburne County Sheriff, not the Heber Springs Sheriff. So there is life outside of Heber Springs and Cleburne County. So
we try really hard to make it, all around the county.
Absolutely.
It's hard.
You have a presence. Everywhere you go, you see a presence of the sheriff's cars, and that's a good thing.
We've been trying really hard to make sure that we spend a lot of time out in the county where we're supposed to be. And of course, we're always happy to help Heber Springs. Sure. We're happy to help any of the cities in the community, even that have their own police departments. Right. But our responsibility first and foremost is to the people who don't have the protection of a city department. Right. And so that's we've really tried to emphasize since January, just being available in the county.
Look, I've kept you here about half an hour more than I anticipated. You've had a long day already. He's been at work all day. He's been in meetings for most of the day. The last place he wanted to be probably was not with me, and probably want to be with his family, but I've kept him here a little bit longer. But guys, this has been a phenomenal inaugural episode of Tactical Tuesday. I want to thank the viewers. We're down to a few now. I think we're up to 6 at one point, which is really great considering that really no one has known about this yet. I decided to do this a few days ago. I contacted Sheriff Brown, asked if he'd be a part of it.
he was glad to do it, which is great for me because I wanted this to be not your typical gun show or your typical tactical show. It's more of everyday usage and what you can do to help defend and all of that. But you know, Sheriff Brown has been on the job. He got elected last fall with January 1. He actually took office. Right. He's been doing a great job. What I love about Sheriff Brown is I like to stay in the back, and I really don't try to get involved. But I contacted him a few weeks ago about some initiatives that he has coming down the pipeline that I'd like to help him with. But he's got a lot of great ideas. He's young. He's got children that are in the community and going to school with your kids. So I know that he cares about the youth of Cleburne County. And not saying that they don't, because the previous sheriff is one of my dear friends, and he did a great job. But having Sheriff Brown around here has been a really good thing for Cleburne County. I know that people are excited about having you in Cleburne County, and I know that you were at Searcy for a few years. SWAT team, is that right, in Searcy? Yeah. So having you here, we're very glad to have you. And personally, I'm very glad to have you with this. And like I said, I hate to keep you a little bit longer, but I think this has been a phenomenal first episode. I think very informative. Guys, if you need to get a hold of the Sheriff Department, call 911. There are websites, CleburneCountySheriff.com. What's the phone number if they need to get a hold of a sheriff deputy that's the dispatch? Is there a number they can call directly to the sheriff or anything? There's
two non-emergency phone numbers. Okay. For the sheriff's office during business hours, it's 362-8143. And then even after business hours, you can call that phone number, but that will ring straight into dispatch.
Okay.
Dispatch's direct phone number, if you need a deputy during the daytime, is 362-8291. And that'll get you right to dispatch. But like I said, if you need the actual sheriff's office during the daytime, you call that 8143 number.
Fantastic. Guys, I thank everybody for watching. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button. That'll notify you next time we have another show. I want to thank Kyle Osborne and Code 1 Ammo. They're sponsoring this, and I appreciate everything you do for me personally through my competitive shooting. But he also, I know he actually his ammo is used a lot by a lot of law enforcement agencies around the area. So Kyle does a great job. Anything you guys need for custom loading, get a hold of Kyle at code1ammo.com. He'll take care of you guys. He was a police chief in Searcy for a long time, so it's not like he's just Joe Blow out there. He knows what he's doing. He's been around it and all that. But guys, I really want to thank Sheriff Chris Brown. Very lucky to have you. Appreciate you very much. Guys, if you're out on the road and you're in Walmart or you're at Harps or you're somewhere and you see Sheriff Brown or any of the deputies, considering what's happened between the communities and law enforcement over the last year, there was a police officer in Little Rock or North Little Rock that was kind of frowned upon doing what he thought was a good community service and all that. Guys, there's a thing I saw. It was hugs from cops at one point, and someone was doing it somewhere. I'm not saying go run up there and give this guy a hug, but you see a police officer from Heber Springs or a state trooper or a sheriff's deputy, and they're just people just like everybody else in this county. If they're out shopping, you know what, go and shake their hand and say thank you, because they keep us safe. We are a community from Memorial Day to Labor Day that can get crazy on weekends, and they do their jobs to keep the residents of Cleburne County safe from what I call the tourists. You can call them what you want, but they keep us safe. So you guys see any of the deputies, police officers of Heber Springs, state troopers, go shake their hand, tell them thank you. And like I said, if you have any closing comments, we'd love to have you, but I want to say thank you very much for coming out again.
Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
Until next Tuesday at 7:30, we'll be updating our Facebook page and YouTube page on who our next guest is going to be. But until next Tuesday at 7:30, thank you for watching Tactical Tuesday. We'll see you next week. Semper Fidelis.